All right, cool. Audio's working. Look, man, I'm very critical of Dmitry Bivol. I am a fan of Bivol. I respect his skills. I don't have to tell you guys that he's a great fighter and an even better boxer. I don't have to tell you those things, right? His resume, his short, limited professional resume speaks volumes, right? He's an incredible talent. He does all the fundamentals right, throws nothing but pretty much straight punches. He's very efficient, and his defense is solid, right? In terms of all the pound for pound fighters and pretty much all the boxers at that elite level, he gets hit the least. Look, man, Bivol's the shit. There's nothing else about it. And I'm going to admit this, to a certain degree, Canelo did duck him. He's not ducking the rematch or ducking the fade, but he refuses to give Bivol a shot or even to open negotiations at 168. See, Canelo said, and he stated in the past, that he wants to fight Bivol again at 175. He doesn't want to have Bivol come down 7 pounds and fight him at 168 because people aren't going to give him the credit. They're always going to say, oh, well, he was too small. He shrunk in weights, and that's not even his weight class. He's never fought at 168. So Canelo wants all the credit. But honestly, I think it's not consistent. What I mean by that is I feel like there is an underlining message, and the reason why Canelo doesn't want to fight essentially real killers in between 168 and 175, like David Benavidez, like Dmitry Bivol, because I think Canelo loves his titles. I think he is afraid of losing everything he's accomplished at 168, because there's never been an undisputed fighter at 168, right? Ward was close to do it. Kovalev was close. Maybe that southpaw Joe Calzaghe might have been undisputed. I'm not exactly too sure. But I believe Canelo is afraid to give Bivol a shot at 168 for all those titles. Now, I bring this message because Bivol's team and Bivol himself and his managerial company, they've said it's been very difficult in the year of 2023 to secure any fight. Now, the term boogeyman gets thrown around too loosely. Supposedly, every division has a boogeyman, right? At 168, the boogeyman is David Benavidez or David Morrell, right? At 160, the boogeyman is Zani Beck. At 154, it's Tim Tszyu. At 147 is Jaron Boots Ennis. You know what I'm saying? And the list goes on and on. Everyone has a division. Everyone has a boogeyman. Everyone has a different boogeyman, right? But the reality is, when we talk about the boogeymans in boxing, there's only one, and that is Dmitry Bivol. Not only is he getting blackballed, not only are politics fucking him over, not only are sanctioning bodies, right, restricting him access. I can only imagine if Bivol had been one of the, had a following of the Mexican fan base, or if he was a black fighter, people would be crying. And there would be some outlandish remarks being said that, oh man, Bivol is being ducked. There's he's being institutionalized, discriminated upon, right? Dmitry Bivol. And for a lot of people, they always say, man, keep politics outside of the sport. Bivol is getting blackballed in every aspect that we can think of. He had an amazing 2022, upsetting Canelo Alvarez, and then completely dominated, both Alvarez and Zurdo Ramirez, right? These fights weren't even close. So you would think going into 2023, Bivol riding off the momentum of the previous year, everybody would be like, I want to fight this dude, right? He rose to the occasion. He was fighter of the year. Bivol accomplished amazing things at 2022. But going into 2023, man, has he crashed in fault. Everything has been in shambles, right? I don't know exactly what happened, but he's divorced. He's inactive. He can't get any big fights. Beterbiev looks like he don't want to fight him. Bob Arum isn't in the rush to make that fight. The WBC stated if they do fight, you know, they're like banning all Russian athletes. But somehow Beterbiev walks around with that WBC belt. He's the exception, but Bivol isn't. Everything that can possibly go wrong for Bivol is happening to him, right? And let me go back to Canelo Alvarez. I believe Canelo is scared in general to fight tough dudes at 168. At least the guys that most people want to see him fight, like Bivol, like David Benavidez, right? Nobody really wants to see the Jermell Charlo fight. That is an amazing fight, by the way, on paper, you know, in terms of the accolades and what both fighters have accomplished, the histories that they've had at 154. It's a great fight. I'm not trying to like shit on it, right? I understand the importance of it. I understand that any fighter can rise to the occasion. But the reality is, if Canelo is afraid or he doesn't want to be discredited in beating Bivol at 168, and he doesn't want people to talk about it, why is he not afraid, or is he allowing people to talk about, or why is he comfortable, right, with Jermell Charlo moving up 14 pounds and fighting him at 168? So now he wants to be very like, no, I want to do it right. I want to beat Bivol at 175. But when it comes down to Jermell Charlo, now he can move up 14 pounds. It's like a contradiction. It's okay for, you know, Jermell to move up 14 pounds, but it's not okay for Bivol to move down 7. It's inconsistent. Like people are like Canelo says, people are going to talk. There's always going to be another fighter that they want me to fight. It's never enough, right? But this is one of the beautiful parts about being at the top, is that a lot of people don't understand the top tier fighters. Like nobody, you know, unless you're rich, we don't really understand the rich, right? We don't understand what they do, how they move, because we can't relate to them. We can always relate to the underdog because we're all essentially, at least there's one common theme, is that we can relate to them because they're chasing a dream. But when the champion is at the top and they're at the throne, you know, they start realizing, they start looking down upon us, right? Like, for instance, if you were rich, you most likely wouldn't marry somebody poor because you'd be like, man, are they trying to finesse me? Am I going to get hit with this, you know, am I going to lose if we won't split? Is a lot, like, there's a lot of legalities about it that you're going to be like, nah, man, I'm going to just marry somebody else rich, right? Everybody says you're always supposed to marry up. But the thing about Canelo, and the reason I bring up that analogy, might be a terrible one, is one of the things that I admire about the 1%ers, like Canelo in that position, is that there's a special breed that never settle, that they never get comfortable. See, Canelo, he could retire 5 years ago when he beat Triple G, but he wanted more. He wanted more. He moved up to 168. He became undisputed, but that's not enough. He wanted more. He moved up to 175 and fought Kovalev, then came down, fought some great fights at 168 again, and then moved back up, and he never settled, and he fought Dimitri Bivol, right? And even outlandish as it is, as rich as he is, the elegant cars that he has, the amazing wardrobe that he has, everything, like, it's perfect for him. He's living that life. He at one point, or Eddie Reynoso, went to the WBC convention and is like, we want to fight Makabu at 200 or somewhere at cruiserweight. Or they even negotiated a little bit with Badu Jack, like, I will fight you at 190, 185. Like, he never settles. And that's one thing that I admire about Canelo. And, you know, usually people are there at that 1% that they can be comfortable. They can eat a bunch of potato chips and just go on vacation and splurge themselves with the finest things that life has to offer, but they never settle, and it's never enough. And that's what I admire about Canelo. He still takes on tough fights. Now, Jermell Charlo, I can't say that it is a tough fight. It has the potential to be, but one thing that I know for sure is a Bivol fight is tough for Canelo. So here's the thing. If people are going to talk that oh, Jermel's moving up 14 pounds. Canelo in that situation is in a lose-lose situation. What's going on, Soul Dry? He doesn't want to fight Bivol, but trying to save face. I agree. But he's not saving face fighting Jermell Charlo, though. You see? Because no one asked for that fight. Everyone has been asking for David Benavidez. And Canelo's response to guys like David Benavidez, well, they only have one big name on their fight. They haven't fought nobody, right? You fight with nobody, like he told Andrade. And he goes on to say that, guys, don't disrespect myself, right? Don't disrespect me. But let me ask you guys this. If David Benavidez doesn't have any big fights, if Terrence Bud Crawford only has Arrow, then what does Jermell Charlo have? I wonder, what Canelo would rate Jermell Charlo's resume. He's called him a great fighter, so there's obviously respect. He acknowledges that Jermell is very talented, that he's the king at the hilltop. But, what would be a great fighter on that resume? Maybe Austin Trout, right? It's very interesting how Canelo picks and chooses. And he can do, look, Canelo can do whatever he wants. He can pick and choose all the opponents that he wants in the world because he's earned that right. But for the sake of just conversation and being consistent, Bivol was the one that said, I would go down to 168 only for Canelo, right? And I want to become undisputed. Because probably Bivol knew that Beterbiev and crossovering to top rank, all those factors, that fight right now might not be plausible. But maybe Canelo want to get back. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but when Bivol does these interviews, he calls Canelo Canela. It's the funniest thing. Now, I don't know if it's intentional or if it's a Russian thing and that's the translation. But Canela is a feminine version of saying Canelo. Canela is like cinnamon. So it makes a lot of sense, even in Spanish, that's the translation. But it is hilarious. I find it hilarious. But yeah, I agree. Canelo is trying to save face, right? Because he has at least an excuse. 175 is not my division. That's why I lost to Bivol. Soul Dry says it is not, and I speak Russian. So you think when Bivol says Canela, because I'll pull up the Fight Hype or Fight Hub interviews, Bivol does call Canelo Canela. So you think he's taking shots at him? Because I find it always hilarious that he says that. It's actually awesome, man. Our O's sound like A's. Okay, so then he's not doing it intentional to talk trash. That's just the translation. That's just I guess a language barrier. Man, what the f is going on? Why you guys keep texting me, man? Damn. My bad, guys. I just always have the phone on. I never mute it, so it always gets these pop-ups and text message notifications. It's annoying, man. Look, man. A lot of people think Canelo is arrogant, right? He's not humble. But to be honest with you, man, I don't really like that term, humble. It doesn't make any sense to me. Because I don't know if you guys know what the definition of humble means. Or maybe I've just barely found out right now. Is that humble is kind of like the lack of confidence in your own ability, right? And I don't like that, man. Because I feel like if you put in the blood, sweat, and tears and you're consistent and you discipline yourself in and out of the ring, you're not supposed to be humble. You're supposed to be confident. Now, I think a lot of people think the word humble means grateful, right? It's not what that means, man. I don't think that's a synonym to that word. Grateful is being thankful, gracious that, I'm alive, that I got a mom and a dad, that I got a job, I got a girl. That's being grateful. Why do you got to be humble to say those things? You don't. I'm confident when I say that. You see what I'm saying? If I'm Canelo, I don't want to be humble. I want to be confident in my ability that I can knock the block off that dude. That if I deck him on the chin, I don't want to go in there and say, well, I don't know. I have power, but I don't know if I can hurt him. No, hell nah. If you go in there with that mentality, that's doubt. You see, when people say, oh, man, you got to be humble. For what? Humble in what way? Humble in having doubt in my ability? Because I don't like that word doubt. To be honest with you, I don't like the word humble. You got to be confident in your approach. If you get rejected because you were humble and the way you approached a girl, you think you don't feel good about yourself? But if you walk into that situation with confidence, you see what I'm saying? If you walk into the situation with confidence, now you got a shot. But if you go in there walking humble with your head down and just like, oh, let me just approach her. Your voice and your tone of voice is going to rattle. It's going to shake. Nah, man, you got to go in there with confidence, with your balls, with your head held high, confident in the way you're going to approach her, hit her with the one-liner, or maybe it's the smell of your cologne, you know what I mean? Or the way you present yourself. You can't do it humbly. And then be grateful when you walk out that room with the girl on your shoulder. Soulja says humble could mean respectful, modest, or it just could mean meek and deferential. Look, man, I think the word grateful means respectful and modest and thankful. I'm not gonna lie to you, man. I don't think humble would get me far in life. I'm not saying that I'm confident, right? But I do trust in my ability. No. I would say that I am confident. You know what I'm saying? Because if you go humble in any approach, man, if you go humble in an interview and downplay your own resume, like let's say you go to college and get a bachelor's degree, right? Or let's say you're in shape and fit. You should be able and have the right to take off your shirt and not be like, oh man, I'm the baddest dude in the world. No, but you worked hard for your body. You work hard for your resume, your experience, the fact that you take care of your body, the fact that you built upon a resume. You see what I'm saying? You can't go in there humble because that job interview, they're going to be like, I don't know, man. See, you have a confident team and a cast around you, you feel like you can take over the world. Hell, bro, I muted my phone and I somehow still get these notifications and I put it on didnt. That is crazy. Anyway, going back to Canelo and Bivol. I think Canelo realizes what a tough task Bivol is. When Canelo first fought him, I'm not saying he thought Bivol was sweet, but when he looked on that resume, he's like, he's fought with nobody. That's what I thought Canelo thought. Because I don't know if Canelo was very studious of Bivol and knew much about him. I don't know. They don't ask Canelo the tough questions. Right? We know 175 is not his weight class. To be honest with you, I don't think 168 is Canelo's weight class. But his skills and his power and his pop and his experience that he gained from Triple G, he realized that he can bang with the best of them. Because Triple G is one of the best. That chin is unbreakable. When he was with Abel Sanchez, bro, Triple G, I've never seen some of the shots that Triple G would take and it just counter, boom, and punch with his head being snapped, and getting lifted, he would still throw and not lose momentum in his own punch selection. Triple G was a bad man. The only thing is I wish I saw more of Triple G, right? I know he's got like 40 fights or whatever that he's got, but I'm talking about seeing Triple G against the great quality fighters, right? Because his resume is pretty sus. But I like the victories over Willie Monroe. But there was times that I'm like, damn, bro. What if Billy Joe Saunders didn't duck you? What if you actually did fight Sergio Maravilla? What about, Demetrius Andrade? What about if you had moved up to 168 and fight David Benavidez? Because you sparred these guys. So imagine the great quality fights that we miss. I'm going to go to a little sidebar real quick. They have to find a way, the sport of boxing and then trainers, they have to find a way to sell or distribute these amazing sparring sessions. Because there's a market to sell sparring sessions. Like, bro, how many people would pay to see Canelo spar Triple G when Canelo was like 20 or 17 or 18 years old or whatever, how old he was? What about the David Benavidez sparring Bivol, sparring Gennady Golovkin, Zurdo Ramirez? I want to see that. Look how much views and look how much attention circulated when people, I think it was Dante's Boxing Ace, and showcased Devin Haney sparring Shakur Stevenson. Imagine the access that the boxing fans have failed to have and witness of these amazing sparring sessions. Look at when we saw a little bit like 10 seconds of Edwin Valero when he rocked Eric Morales. Imagine the amazing sparring sessions. Yo, excuse me, guys. I don't know what's going on. Damn, I'm like stuttering and fumbling all over my words, bro. It's embarrassing. Anyway, just imagine all these epic sparring sessions that we hear about, but that we never get to watch. And it never gets leaked. I know there's a gentleman's rule or an unspoken rule that we don't, but bro, we gotta change that mentality, because that builds so much hype and so much momentum. Even if, and this is what I'm going to at the sidebar, is I've heard Amir Khan is one of the best, or has the best highlights in sparring, right? Because he has that extra layer of headgear and the gloves are a little bigger. Once that stuff comes off, his chin can't hang in the pro game. But in sparring, I hear he gives everybody the good work. So imagine fans having access to that. Bro, some of these wars in sparring, these fighters give it their all. We know so many times, and we hear that some fighters spar way better than they actually fight when the lights get turned on the big stage. Bro, someone's got to tap into that market and start distributing to the fans. That's only going to help the sport grow. There's got to be the time, like for instance, if they distributed right now Jermell Charlo and Errol Spence sparring, overnight that probably cracks 1 million views. Overnight that cracks maybe 10 million views in probably 2 years. Bud Crawford had that epic training sparring session with Timothy Bradley. So release that. We know there's people there recording. Sometimes they turn off the cameras, right? But they got to stop doing that, man. So Dry says, our O sound like A's. Nope. Humble could, or I read that. I think Canelo wants to get back, but at the same time, he understands what a second loss will do to his stock. So near to that last loss, I think he wants to go on a good win streak, look good, and then maybe go after Bivol. Vince puts out an emoji or something, but I don't know. My computer's a little older. Well, it's not an old computer. I just haven't downloaded and uploaded the newest software to it because I have some cracked apps that I don't want, to, because Mac and Apple products, when they tell you to download the newest software, everything has to be updated as long with the apps. So there used to be this website, allegedly, there used to be this website. It's called Kick-Ass Torrents, and I used to download. You know what, man? I'm not gonna say none of that stuff, bro. What the fuck am I doing? Soldier, gonna have the heavyweight sparring champion of the world. Yeah, man. Look, Vince says it was a boxing glove for sure, man. Yeah, he was great boxing talks. Look, Canelo is the man. I'm a big fan of him. It's gonna be a sad day when he retires. Like it was a sad day when Pacquiao retired. These guys, I don't know how much money that I've spent buying their pay-per-views, boxing gloves, heavy bags. It's gonna be a sad day, but I gotta call it how I see it. Canelo is afraid to give certain fighters the shot up at Undisputed for all his belts at 168. All right. See, at 175, it was not even at 175. I can still see it being a lose-lose situation because those names at 175 are not big. But in this situation with Jermell Charlo, it is a lose-lose situation. He's got nothing to gain from Jermell Charlo. He's not going to snatch his belts. It's not like Jermell has an undefeated record, right? It's not like he's fighting a perceived threat. I think it's a perceived threat. A lot of people in the boxing world know Jermell Charlo is a game fighter. But the reason why we're not giving Jermell Charlo any chance is because he's not a 168-pound fighter. He's an amazing 154 fighter. Maybe an amazing middleweight if he were to move up. But moving up 14 pounds, a year layoff in surgery, how much credit is Canelo going to get? How much credit would Canelo get if he fights Bivol and beats him at 168? How much are people going to shit on Canelo if he gives Bivol the shot at 168 and he loses? Like, see, this is one of the thing is like, if Bivol were to beat Canelo, let's just say hypothetically speaking, if Bivol were to beat Canelo at 168, he takes everything that Canelo has earned. His glory. You know, I'm not saying Canelo wouldn't be a Hall of Famer, but it would be like, yeah, bro, like this boy stole all that I worked hard for. So there's that fear that it's kind of like when you buy your dream car, when you buy your dream house, you have the best sofas, kind of like that movie Fight Club, right? With Edward Norton and Brad Pitt. You have everything you've ever wanted. And then let's say Mother Nature takes it away, or your neighbor leaves a fuse and your apartment gets burnt on fire, or whatever the case may be. Everything that you worked, you have to have a level of fear. If you build a family, a father should have fear of losing his wife, of losing his children, right? Soul Dry says, yeah, but a lot of people kept saying for years that he avoided a Charlo. He figured one Charlo is as good as the other, or as good as another. This guy, wait, whoa. Give me a second, Speed. I'm trying to get you in here, but yo, did my computer freeze? Okay, there, you're in there, bro. Yo, Speed, can you hear me?
Yes, I could hear you, the homie Ricky. How are you doing, sir?
Yo, mic check. Speed, can you there?
Yeah. Can you hear me or not?
Yo, Soul Dry, let me know if you're able to hear me or hear Speed.
Yeah,
I
so I'm
could
not too
have bad
sure.
internet. What the hell?
You never know, man. Not too sure if anybody can hear me, but I am absolutely right here,
Maybe
the homie
both.
Ricky.
The funny thing is I can't hear Speed. Hey, yo, Warped, are you on the mic? Are you speaking? All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm going to refresh my.
Okay, so yeah, so that's a strange Stone Cold whodunit of technology right there. Some kind of hiccup. Uh, where the homie Ricky apparently can't hear me. I could hear him perfectly fine. But then again, I am traveling within a vehicle, and perhaps there is some kind of disconnect created by the traveling of space and time that he's not privy to right now. But if anybody can hear me, I would like to wish you all a great even fall. We do have Mr. Vince Vargas. Always a pleasure to see you around here, sir, in these rough YouTube streets. So dry, never mind. Warped Speed can't hear you either. But for some reason, not on my computer. I can hear you on my phone, is what the homie Ricky states. So I guess I'm just gonna have to uh if anybody can hear me, I guess I'm just gonna have to handle this broadcast by my lonesome until the homie Ricky can square his technological malfunctions off. But I just wanted to tap into my inner Beavis and say, Canela, right? So I do understand so dry that perhaps in Russian parlance or the ways that you folks speak, perhaps O's sound like A's, or maybe O's are pronounced like A's. But the thing is this, right? Uh, Bivol, if I'm not mistaken, he has a background with working with Mexican and Mexican American trainers, and he's definitely been around enough of them. As he, if I'm not mistaken, resides here in the state of California, so he knows the Mexican culture. When the Mexican culture, you have folks that are uh, their names ends with O if it's male for the most part, and ace if it ends with if it's a female, like for example Mario, Maria, Canelo, Canela. And that's just basically the way that the Spanish language is really constructed. That's just one of the constructs of the language. For the most part, of course, there's little variances here and there, but nonetheless, I would say that Dmitry Bivol is smart enough and cultured enough, worldly enough of a man to know what he's doing when he says Canela to Saul Santos Alvarez Barragan. Nonetheless, if it's something that he's just been accustomed to because he's been speaking like that and thinks like a Russian, and it just comes naturally to for him to say the A sound instead of the O, well, you can't really judge him. Nonetheless, I just thought that I should mention that as an aside, that I would believe that somebody as famous as Canelo would likely have been in the words and the conversations that Mr. Dmitry Bivol would have had in his life, so that he'd be able to pronounce the O correctly, like every other person in the world does. Nonetheless, well, I just figured maybe we should throw that in there. But homie Ricky, are you back, sir?
Yeah, man, I can hear. Look, bro, he knows what he's doing. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I know. That's why I tapped into my inner
Like
Beavis and had a chuckle at it.
he gets trained by Joel Diaz, right, in Coachella. So they probably Joel probably told him, "Hey, say Canela." It's like a feminine version of saying Canelo, just a little master. He knows what he's doing, bro. Listen,
yeah, no, I know.
That's the charisma of him, and I'm all for it because it's playful, but it's also like assertive, letting him know I'm the bigger dog.
Yeah, of course, it's playful. He is definitely smart and sly enough to know what he's doing, and I'm sure that somewhere around there somebody has brought it up to his attention, and he's refused to change. Now, I do not think that anything like Dmitry Bivol calling Canela, it would be any of the reasons for why Saul Santos Alvarez Barragan wouldn't want to take a rematch with that fine Russian gentleman at 168. I just really do think it's like this, homie Ricky. Saul Santos Alvarez Barragan, he is a proud fighter, and he has a right to be, right? Because he has fought very valiantly, a lot of good names. He's always entertained. He's smart enough to know that he's the cash cow. He's smart enough to know that he's a fan pleaser, a crowd favorite. And he knows that the reason he's done that is not because his hair is red. It's because he's fought like his hair is red. He's fought like a Braveheart. And Canelo, he respects a fighter that ventures out to test himself, if anything. And I do not think that he respects Bivol. First off, you got to understand one thing. He lost to the man, so he has to have some kind of strong sentiment towards him. I would likely imagine a negative one, maybe a respectful one, because I'm sure that as a proud fighter, he says, yo, this guy's a good fighter. But whether he respects him as a fighter for having beaten him, I don't think he necessarily respects him as a fighter that's done everything to A, amass a great resume, B, become a crowd favorite and a cash cow, and C, he's never done things to test himself. He's been a fighter that's been happy and content to fight at the same weight class for all of his career. If I'm not mistaken, he has been light heavyweight throughout all of his 19 fights or so, and never once fought at 168, nor ever went up to a higher weight class, right? So that's one of those things that Canelo has done. He's constantly been doing that for years now, right? He's gone up in weight and gone up in weight and gone up in weight. And we know that one of the ways that you can fall into the category of a pound for pound fighter is to be a smaller man and test your skill set against the bigger men. And naturally, the best test of that is to go up in weight. If Canelo is a smaller fighter, starting at 147, I think he may have even fought for a short tenure at 140. If he goes to 147, he's already a smaller man going up to fight bigger, stronger men, and his skills transcend the 147 because he's successful there and he's triumphant and dominant. He goes on to the next big thing, and so forth and so on. The Dimitri Bivol, which, by the way, if we wanted to be like Dimitri, Canelo could call him the Demetra or Demetra, something like Greek restaurant, right? Turkish restaurant, whatever that is. But if he get out of here. Anyways, what I'm trying to say is this: Dimitri Bivol is willing to go to 168 solely for the money, and that's probably another one of Canelo's gripes when he's saying, "Listen, boy, I'm not anybody's cash cow. I'm not here to make you rich off of you fighting me. I'm here to accomplish something. And if you really wanted to do something at 168, you would just come down and take all the fighters because you ain't getting fights at 175 and you're not testing yourself like most greats have to gone up in weight. In fact, you're doing quite the opposite. You're willing to come down. Now, I wanted to ask you something, homie Ricky. What legendary fighters do you know of that have reversed the trajectory of the greats, the pound for pound fighters, and have gone down in weight to fight smaller fighters? And I'm not trying to discredit anybody for doing that, because we know that Donito Nonaire will never be discredited because he fought at 118 and was trying to come back down to 115 to fight Francisco Estrada and Chocolatito Roman Gonzalez. But what other, because he's already a shoe in Hall of Famer, but what other fighters can you think of that have said, you know what, I'm going to go down and weight to as the bigger guy to fight the smaller guys?
Well, you got to go back in time in history, bro.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you got to go back down in history because there was a fighter who was a champion and held the belts in 3 different weight classes. I think it was like Henry Armstrong or not Max Bayer, but it was one of them names thrown way back in the black and white, TV days. So you got to look at something like that. It's very rare where you see a fighter, he's a champion at a certain weight and go back down. Not in the sense like what Kilbrook did to Triple G and going back down. I'm saying like, let's say for Lomachenko, he's gonna do that. He's been a champion at 135, went back down to 130. The reason I'm running out of breath is I'm working out, so like in the background. So
you're good.
Let me just catch.
I thought you were having sex or something.
Nah, bro. Nah. Come on, bro. Keep it.
You don't have sex. Okay.
So what I was saying is, so to address a couple of your points, you said something about amongst the lines that Canelo doesn't respect Bivol because he hasn't accomplished a lot of great things. And
well, not necessarily that. It's just that I didn't say that.
You said that because you said he respects him in the sense that he's a good fighter.
That he beat him.
Not that he's but not that he's accomplished a lot of great things and moved up in weight and ring or lineal or undisputed and done it in multiple divisions. So you don't know if Canelo has that much respect for him in that aspect in terms of, his minimal resume. Because right now, most fighters that have 20 fights would be considered, for the majority of the time, would be prospects, right? Like they're barely going to have their one big fight. Now with this new wave of gold medalists, usually Russian fighters, by the time that they turn pro, they're already like 24. When guys like Shakur, Devin Haney start when they're like 17 or 18. So by the time they get to, there's been this rush to become a champion at a very early age. So Bivol is one of those guys that, in terms of his experience, not professionally, but in the amateurs, he's able to circumvent and move extremely quick. Something with Lomachenko. Anyway, that hurts and doesn't hurt a certain fighter. But in this particular case, it does hurt Bivol because a lot of people don't know the fighters on his resume or want to give him credit for. Like, for instance, I think Sullivan Barrera is a really good win for Bivol. I thought if you go rewatch the fight that Sullivan Barrera had when he was undefeated, and his only loss at that time was Andre Ward, Barrera gave
Yeah.
Ward a really good fight. In fact, if it
Yes, he
wasn't for
did.
the knockdown, you can almost say that it was a draw. Ward did not dominate Sullivan Barrera at all, and it was a close fight. If memory serves me right, I believe it was pretty close. But, I think Andre Ward was probably fighting in Las Vegas, maybe in Oakland. I know we want to go see Andre Ward live one time, so I don't know if it was Sullivan Barrera or the Colombian Alexander Brand. But there was one fight that was a stinker, and then there was one fight that was very competitive. And at that time, I think Andre Ward had barely moved up to that weight class. So he was still, filling it out. I could be wrong. I don't remember. But that's a great win on Dimitri Bivol. Even Joe Smith Jr. is a good win. Not a great win, because that's not a big name, in my opinion, because you just saw what Artur Beterbiev was able to do, and he's like 39 years old. And Joe Smith might be like 35, 36. So, I mean, that fight only went 2-3 rounds. But nevertheless, that's still a good win. It's a stay busy fight. But anyway, so I don't know if Canelo respects Bivol in the sense of, well, like you said, like he doesn't have a lot of big names on his resume, a lot of big fights. And that's why I think Canelo walked away, because he was like, bro, you're not going to demand shots at me, because I can just walk away and I can freeze you out and you can lose all your momentum. So don't try to play hardball on me, because you don't dictate what I do with my career. Canelo has always had that, that foot on the gas, that he's able to walk away during situations. He also lifted and stood his ground on the WBC. You're not going to tell me when I have to fight Gennady Golovkin. And I believe the WBC tried to tarnish Canelo's reputation. And that's when, like, the drug test failed and all this information started coming to light. I somehow think that same thing is happening to Dimitri Bivol, that he's trying to play hardball and put pressure on these sanctioning bodies and certain fighters.
Hey, the homie Ricky, let me ask you something. Can you hear me, bud?
Yeah, I can. Why? What's going on? I mean, I can't hear you now because you muted your mic, but I was hearing you prior to it. Yo, you there? Anyway, so what I was saying is I believe there is an effort to freeze out Dimitri Bivol, all right? Because right now, there are many Russian fighters.
Homie Ricky, so I'm not too sure if you can hear me, bud. Anyway,
Yeah, I can hear you. Anyway, Soul Dry says his thinking is I've waited long enough and I
I'm not
got
too sure. Maybe we're being attacked because of our controversial opinions.
nah, bro, but you're constantly interrupting though, because I can hear you fine. What the fuck? Anyway, his thinking is I've waited long enough and I got the Canelo fight. If I'm patient, I eventually get the shot at other titles at 175. He's not there no more. Warp, he can hear you. Yeah, I don't know what's going on his end. I know on my end, my app was just kind of acting up, so I had to refresh. But kind of sucks. It's kind of like the first time it's happened after like 30 lives or so. But yeah, man, look, Canelo has always walked away from situations where he doesn't feel that he's being treated properly, or that they're not treating him in the manner in which he wants to be treated as. For instance, he did walk away from the Triple G fight. Hell, the WBC stripped him, right? And he told Mauricio Suleiman, you don't dictate terms and you don't tell me what I'm going to do with my career, all right? That takes that takes balls to do so. Give me a second, guys.